And in addition to the New York Times story, People Magazine writer Natasha Stoynoff, who wrote that Trump forcibly kissed her and insinuated that they would have an affair during a 2005 interview. Well, Stoynoff writes that she was meeting with Melania and Donald Trump for a feature piece on their one-year anniversary. But when Melania Trump stepped away, she writes, "We walked into the room alone and Trump shut the door behind us. I turned around and within seconds, he was pushing me against the wall and forcing his tongue down my throat." Donald Trump is doubling down on his claims that accusations against him are false. He spoke about the People article at a campaign rally in Florida earlier today.
Then there was a writer from People Magazine who wrote a story on Melania and myself on our first anniversary. The story was beautiful. It was beautiful. It was lovely. But last night we hear that after 12 years, this took place 12 years ago, this story, a new claim that I made inappropriate advances during the interview to this writer. And I ask a very simple question. Why wasn't it part of the story that appeared 20 or 12 years ago? Why wasn't it part of the story? Why didn't they make it part of the story? I was one of the biggest stars on television with The Apprentice, and it would have been one of the biggest stories of the year. Think of it. She's doing a story on Melania, who's pregnant at the time, and Donald Trump, our one-year anniversary. And she said, I made inappropriate advances. And by the way, the area was a public area, people all over the place. Take a look. You take a look. Look at her words. You tell me what you think. I don't think so. I don't think so.
People senior editor Charlotte Triggs joins me now from the People Magazine newsroom in New York. Charlotte, thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you.
I want to ask you, though, Donald Trump says that this story is completely fabricated. He's even threatened to sue the New York Times for publishing their story. Are you worried about legal action that he might take against People Magazine?
Yeah. You know, we stand by the story. This is something that we took very seriously. When Natasha decided that she was ready to open up about this, you know, obviously we were very pleased just for her to be able to tell her story and to do a service to women and to get the truth out there. And we fully vetted this, and we definitely stand by everything she said.
Now, Natasha writes in the story, except for a few close friends and family, I didn't talk about the incident in time. I chalked it up to one of the hazards of a roller coaster ride of celebrity journalism. Donald Trump forced himself on me. I tried to make myself believe it was no big deal. Does People Magazine, do you feel they did enough to protect this journalist and help her?
Listen, Natasha didn't want this to be a public issue at the time, so she only disclosed this to a trusted colleague and friend. She didn't take it up the chain. This wasn't something that was brought to management, and she did not want the story killed, although that was, you know, something that her friend had suggested as an option, because she didn't want to deal with the ramifications at the time. She was afraid of retaliation from Mr. Trump. You know, at the time, he was a big TV star and business mogul. Now, of course, he's an even more influential man, and she was afraid of retaliation from him then, and in fact, you know, this is something that has worried her all this time. And this is obviously something that's still of major concern, but after having heard him at the debate, denying having ever actually acted on those impulses of forcibly kissing and groping women, she felt a moral obligation to open up about this.
You know, it's an issue that affects so many women, and we're seeing many women coming out who finally feel comfortable enough to come forward. I'm curious about corporate America. Does People Magazine feel that they need to change the way that they approach these stories? You do a lot of feature pieces. It's important to get in with these celebrities. Will you make any changes to the editorial process to make reporters feel safe as something like this happens in the future?
I'm not sure that that's something that's, you know, a clear cause and effect, because as a matter of fact, you know, Natasha had covered the Trumps for several years before this incident happened. She had a great professional relationship with them, was quite friendly with them. And, you know, this is not something that someone would anticipate encountering in a professional environment. And so I think that it was particularly a surprising incident to her and not something she could have foreseen, or that the magazine could have foreseen, because, you know, it was a wildly inappropriate action for him to take and not something that anyone could have expected.
So have they talked, are there discussions at People about how to approach this if it happens in the future?
I think that, you know, everybody would be encouraged to just disclose it and come forward. But of course, that's the personal choice of the person involved.
I want to read you another part of Natasha's article, and she writes, "You know we're going to have an affair, don't you?" This is Donald Trump here. In the same confident tone he uses when he says he's going to make America great again. How did Natasha approach you about writing this story?
You know, I don't want to get too much into it, but, you know, Natasha had for a very long time kept this very quiet and had only told people extremely close to her. A handful of people were aware that this is something she had experienced. And, you know, over the course of the past few months, she has warmed up to the idea of coming forward with this story. And really the thing that was the linchpin that really pushed it over the edge for her was hearing him deny forcibly kissing or groping women during the debate when he was pointedly asked by Anderson Cooper. And it was after that point that she really decided this was something she felt morally obligated to talk about.
We're hearing so many women come forward with these types of allegations, Charlotte. Is there anything that Natasha said to you that could make her feel better about the situation or might help her put some sort of closure on this?
Well, she said that she felt very vindicated in having seen that Access Hollywood tape and knowing that this was his MO, this is how he operated, that he bragged about the fact that he didn't even wait for someone's consent to kiss them or to, you know, grab them by the genitalia, as he said so lewdly on that tape. That made her realize that this was not in any way her fault. This is just what he does. And she felt quite vindicated by that.
Okay, People senior editor Charlotte Triggs. Charlotte, thank you, and thanks to Natasha for sharing, because so many women who have gone through sexual assault say that it is very difficult to come forward. Thank you for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you.